we can forget television, the mother drug, the single disaster, biggest disaster of the last 1,000 years, television. Sorry.
That's with the exception of my show, Vermont Today.
That's right.
You don't forget about
this
Vermont
show. This show's different. No, just the habit of television and actually the physical things and psychological things that huge time watching television does to human beings should not be done to human beings, in my opinion.
Well, after I got out of college, I went to Europe, and I studied in 5 European countries, 5 or 6. And I did a lot of reading on my own, Howard Zinn's book, for instance.
Yeah, you have to.
And my conclusion is that a lot of what the kids are learning through high school is brainwashing and propaganda.
Learn to obey.
Yes.
And learn how wonderful we all are in this country, and you know, we are the saviors of the world. We are the chosen people. We are the chosen country. We are the good guys. Everybody else makes war. They're called terrorists. We make war. We're the good guys. Learn that. That's what goes on in public schools, probably private schools too.
And in high school, we're not taught European history. When I got over to Europe and started studying the European history, it gave a whole different perspective on a lot of things that have happened here in America.
Kids, you know, you can teach kids. Kids have marvelous minds. You know, you can teach an interested kid anything. You don't have to be, you know, lockstep in the program. If a kid is interested in agriculture or dance or music or science, you can take a kid who's very young, you know, all up into his teenage years. You can take that kid so far. It's mind-blowing what the potential is for teaching people, and we do not do it. It does not happen.
I would like to see a high school history class learn about the Cicero and the early Roman Republic and how it turned into an empire, and it's very relevant to what's happening today. For instance, Nero. How many of our high school graduates know that they all know that Nero sat on his palace roof playing the guitar while Rome burned? But how many of them know that
He fiddled.
playing the fiddle? But how many of them know that this was the excuse for feeding the Christians to the lions, because they blamed the Christians for burning Rome? And
yeah, that it was a false flag move. Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing that happened at the Reichstag when Hitler took over. And if many people say that that's what happened on 9/11 too.
Yeah, no, that's what it was, a false flag attack. Yes. I've done a little teaching. I did some substitute teaching where, you know, you are really the target. Those kids really raise hell with you. You're the substitute teacher and you don't know your butt from your elbow about who's who in the class and what have you, and you go in. It can be a little rough, but I've done some teaching. And of course, I was a student, as you were and we all were. I'm utterly convinced that we do not scratch the surface with our kids. We have got to do better in educating our kids. You know, many can't write. They can't find a state. They don't know where a particular state is in this country. They don't know where world geography. They don't seem to understand anything about science. They don't seem to understand that facts are actual things, tangible things. Just because you believe something doesn't make it real. Stuff like that. Fundamental things that kids need to know, and they need to have adults who interact with them, treating them with respect for their head and talking to them at a high level. We do nothing but talk down to kids. They're bored out of their tree. It's just a mess.
Well, getting back to the question of secession, when one speaks of secession, people often respond that the the American Civil War was established once and for all that peaceful secession is impossible. However, the breakup of the Soviet Union began with the peaceful secession of the three small Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. They seceded peacefully in spite of the historical precedents of military intervention by Hungary and Czechoslovakia. Perhaps Vermont, as one of the smallest states, could follow their example. Tom Naylor seems to suggest this on page 86 of his book, where he writes, if Vermont can succeed in undermining the moral authority of the United States and convince the rest of the world that the United States government is corrupt to the core, then it too may be able to escape from the Union without ever firing a shot. Can we be reasonably confident that our path to secession will be peaceful, or is there a risk that it will lead to violence as it did, for example, in Ireland?
Oh, there's a very clear risk. Let's not kid each other. A very clear risk. You know, the battered wife tries to get away from the batterer hits. It's a very dicey situation. And yet, the options are go down with the Titanic or build a new life. Small up our government, small up, and get more human about how we relate to each other and our tasks and our work. We don't have an option to that. We've got to do it. The real question of where violence comes from, of course, is how does the empire react? How do the leaders, present leaders, react? If you know, let's hypothetically say we have a initiative, we have a statewide vote, and all the people in this state, let's say, vote, you know, a majority to become our own country. What then would the leaders of the United States do? What would they do? I can't answer that question. But it doesn't define what I'm going to do, and it doesn't define morality for me, and it doesn't define intelligent action for me, just because this guy over here may be a turkey. You know, our government is now involved in 1,000 military bases around the world. It is involved in, it's not just 2 wars, Terry. It's Iraq, it's soon to be Iran, it's Pakistan, it's Afghanistan, and all those bases, you know, they're moving into bases in Colombia. Clearly, they see the rise of South America and those semi-socialist countries as a threat, so we're moving down there. We're involved, you know, our country is out, its government is stretched out, its economy is stretched out all over the world. At some point, and this is what happened in the Soviet Union, at some point, the leaders have to be sane, and they have to say, you know, we're fighting 922 wars. We're going to have to leave Vermont alone. We can't fight another one. Because, folks, almost everybody up here knows how to go into the mountains and knows how to fire a gun. So, you know, you can imagine and hope, if you're the praying type, I'm not, but if you are, you can pray. That we could just responsibly say, look, it's our right. We need the divorce. We want the divorce. We are saying we've got the divorce. And see what you're going to do about it. If one state even gets close, 20 will go out.